social media is dehumanizing us. Now, if you look at any argument that takes place online, whether that's on Reddit or on YouTube or really on just some random Instagram comment section, what you will see without fail is really the villainification, making a villain out of the person that you're arguing against. And what happens is that there's really no nuance to it. And you'll see that those that argue really assume, both sides, that they are the right side. They have all the truth, and the other sides are villains, and that they're bad people, and that they don't have the correct morals, and that they are fundamentally wrong. Now, if you were to have this discussion in real life, face to face, you would be much slower to get to these conclusions, and to, not all the time, but a lot of times, you would be more understanding. You wouldn't just attack and insult the other person and think they're a villain. After all, I would say it's much harder to do that when you are looking in someone's eyes as you do this. You are, beyond words, beyond logical understanding. You are confronted with their humanity. When you stare at someone's eyes, you're like, he's a person just like me, that lives, that breathes, that thinks, that struggles, that has dreams and aspirations. A lot of times, all of that is understood as you look at the person that is in front of you. Now, this is the first stage how I think that social media really dehumanizes us. It just makes us see the arguments on screen and these discussions and whatnot as not as people talking to each other. And sometimes it's not, sometimes it's bots, but not as people talking to each other, but just opinions against each other. And just, I'm right, they're wrong, as if we're fighting, as if it's a battle, as if it's something to win. When I think when it's done correctly, it's not like that. But beyond that, beyond just the arguments, and you look at what happens when one is too much or too long on social media, is that you really are bombarded with spikes in emotions. And you can act on them or not, but these things are placed in front of you, whether you want or not. You scroll long enough, and you're going to see rage bait. A lot of it. You're going to see political things that, rage bait. You're going to see very lustful things, whether you want to see them or not. And these things are going to cause spikes in emotions. More than if you were to compare, let's take your grandparents. If you scroll for a week, a lot of hours per day, you will see more, and you'll have more of these emotional spikes and see more of these things than they probably would see their whole lives. If you think about life before the internet in a small city, when would you be rage baited that often or see lustful things that often? You wouldn't. And, we can't say that they don't have an impact on the mind. They have, and we know they have. And then if you engage with them, even more. And then that's really where I think the problem really leads to, is that we are baited into these things. And the more we engage with them, the more really we corrupt and we destroy ourselves. And we do so because if you think about it, anything that is really gives you pleasure very quickly, and that is spiking your emotions in this way, it's going to be, I think off the top of my mind, it's going to be porn, it's going to be fast food, it's going to be the scrolling, of course, itself. And all these behaviors are behaviors that the more you do them, the more desensitized you become to real life. And so the more someone eats fast food, the less they can enjoy just a simple, slice of a pineapple or an apple or just a normal meal. The more someone watches porn, the more desensitized they become to it, the less they can enjoy even just normal interactions or just normal things. And the more one does that, I really believe if you go down this path, and let's assume someone goes down it as just of pure addiction, you really become, I think the best visual representation of this is Gollum in Lord of the Rings, where he doesn't start as Gollum, he's Smeagol, that's his name, but the more he indulges in these behaviors, the more deformed he becomes, the more hidden he becomes. He just starts going into the cave, into the dark. He doesn't want to be seen. He wants to hide because, a part of him is repulsed by himself and where these addictive behaviors led him and where, all this corruption led him. And obviously the ring is, quite a metaphor for temptation and vice and these things we shouldn't do and we know we shouldn't do, but kind of call for us. And I think this is what happens to us. It's, someone that's addicted to fast food and porn and we can even say video games, and just being online the whole day is someone that it's like it's almost as if they don't want to see the light. It's like it hurts to go outside. It hurts just to do normal human things. It becomes, in a lot of ways, it becomes a synthetic, I think that's how you say the word, synthetic experience of life, where nothing that really you do or interact or consume is real. And by consequence, it is not real. It takes your humanity away from you. Because, beyond all these things, if we look on the other side, the positive side, I would say that some of the best experiences that really reflect the best of humanity in us are really antithetical, like the opposite of what I've just described. It's things like a hike in nature. It is like being on a train ride, looking out the window and getting your best creative ideas because of that. It is to argue with people you love, and at the end of all of this animosity, still being friends and kicking it together. It is, even things like becoming a parent and raising a child and all the responsibility that comes along with it, all the challenge. It is picking something that is difficult to do and striving to do it well, despite all the frustration, despite how much you have to improve. And in this way, they show us that they're so different because they require more from us than pure pleasure. They require responsibility. They require kindness, understanding. They require attention, focus, creativity, all the best about being a person. And if you look at it that way, that's why I'm kind of struggling for my words here, they are essentially opposite to each other. And when I think about even these things, an experience I think right away is when I'm with my friends, my best friends. When we get together, we start talking, chit-chatting, but at some point we're really arguing. And if you would look from the outside, as if we're getting upset at each other about things we really disagree with. And these would be things that, if you see the online crowd, the people that are just online and that just want to be right, they would be like, oh, I can't be friends with people that, how do they say, that don't believe in human rights. They love to say things like that. If you were to look at our arguments, you'd be like, these people cannot be friends. They disagree on so many things in such different sides of the equation here. Yet at the end of it all, we can just be like, you know what, moving on, grab me another beer, let's continue kicking it. And no one is upset, no one is thinking less of the other person, because we fundamentally, when you analyze it, we recognize the humanity in each other. And we recognize that it goes beyond opinions, it goes beyond arguing, it goes beyond being right. It is, at the end of the day, we're friends, we're people, and we can understand each other. And we have to look at things more in this way. Because if we don't, well, then we risk becoming the first person we talked about, that you just, you alienate yourself from the best version of you. Because the best version of you is not one that is always right and correct and that takes these grandiose moral standings that you are the owner of the truth and you shame people you don't agree with. Because that's easy to do. That is, it's very easy to put yourself in a bubble, right or wrong, whether you're right or wrong, and just be there. What is difficult to do is to go and talk to those that don't agree with you and try to have an intelligent conversation with them. It is to be done wrong and forgive. It is to love even though your heart could be broken. It is things that require bravery. It requires responsibility, and they require humility. And, thinking about this, I think there must be a way of mixing these two things, right? That I can be in social media dealing with all these stimulus while simultaneously being the best version of myself and the person that has all these traits and that improves. Well, there might be that perfect balance where you can perfectly be one step in one step in the other. But I guess I haven't found it yet.